Hey, wine lovers, are you at a point where you're glad school is behind you? Or maybe you're one who can't get enough of learning? Well, no matter which person you are, today's topic may pique your interest. We're heading on the wine road to San Francisco.
Now we raise money and we issue scholarships all year. So in the last 2 years, we've issued almost $200,000 in scholarships to folks in the trade or trying to break into the trade.
This is a trip I've taken a number of times in the past to expand my wine knowledge while enjoying a selection of fine varietals. The location and today's topic is the San Francisco Wine School. Earlier this year, I attended seminars for Australian Shiraz, which is their name for Syrah, and Grenache. I couldn't pass up that class, as a 2006 Old Vine Grenache from the Barossa Valley was my epiphany wine. Oh sure, I was drinking some nice wines before that night in 2009, but it further awakened my wine palate. It showed me what wine could be, what the grapes themselves yearned to be, and what eventually led me to this podcast. Also, I've been interested in serving a couple of days in a tasting room, and the school founder, Master Somm certified wine educator David Glancy, was offering the newly established course on responsible beverage service, a certification which is necessary to obtain for any alcohol server in California. That course I took at home via Zoom, which is a convenient option the school offers. So, since I've taken advantage of the San Francisco Wine School, I thought you might find it an appealing option as well. So I sat down with David a couple of weeks ago for this interview, and it gave me the chance to ask, what led you to opening the school?
Quite a long, crazy path, but I'd been working in restaurants and hotels for many years. And in that path, I was a restaurant manager and wanted to be a better manager and put my staff and help my staff at the same time, put my staff through a waiter training program. And I'd done a couple classes here and there, but no certifications, put them all through it and met a master sommelier and was inspired by him to go do the introductory sommelier. But that's all I was going to do. I was a restaurant manager, just wanted to be a little better. And then I passed it, and I'm continuing to manage. And I found I enjoyed tableside wine sales and managing the wine program and doing staff trainings on wine more than anything else I was doing. I retired from restaurants. I was general manager at that point, and then started a consulting business where I did restaurant wine lists, staff trainings, corporate events, and needed more credentials. So I studied for the advanced sommelier exam. And when I passed it, I forgot that I was going to stop. I got caught in the momentum. I was indoctrinated into the cult, if you will. But now I'm jumping into the master sommelier preparation, was in 3 different tasting groups, and along the way joined Society of Wine Educators and was bouncing back and forth between them to keep my momentum going, to keep me from procrastinating. And I passed the 2 of those within 6 months of each other. And at that point, I'd already been recruited to teach at California Culinary Academy. But when I passed the Master Sommelier exam, and I'm a full-time instructor at a culinary school, I was then recruited to create a sommelier school for someone else. Ran that for 5 years. And then when they were purchased, it was time to do my own thing. And so 2011... launched San Francisco Wine School.
Jeez. I didn't have any idea your answer would be that long. I knew that you've done a lot.
All you have to do is ask me one thing, and I'll talk for 30 minutes.
Right, that's what makes you a good instructor. I do remember you saying once that you were pretty much done working in the restaurant industry, especially at night.
Well, you know what? I've done some guest shifts here and there, and I love it. I love the energy of that and, tableside sales and the challenge. One night and, bye everybody. It's easy to be nice to your coworkers when you know you don't have to see them again. But no, really, it's the grind of 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and your days off change. And
it's a lot.
Yeah, the nights and the amount of time on your feet is grueling. with the school, I've got more of a balance of sitting and working at the computer, standing and teaching.
And it's your school.
Yes.
More or less.
Yeah, and there's good and bad of that. You want a stress-free life, own your own business. Not. Absolutely. There's a lot of responsibility there, but you create what you want to create.
Is this the first location you had? Have you been here the whole time?
No, actually, when we started the school in 2011, I like to say we were migrant wine educators. We operated out of restaurants, hotels, and wineries. Our main location was the other side of the freeway here, the Embassy Suites Hotel in South San Francisco. When we got to the point that we were consistently booking 3 to 4 banquet rooms a week, the money started to make sense that we should have our own space.
I was wondering if it was an arduous search to find this location because I think this is an ideal setting that's outside of the city proper.
Yeah, my goal was to be near the airport. That was my original search. And I found a place that was amazing on Oyster Point, the east side of Highway 101 on the bay. There were these 3 old wooden buildings, 2-story buildings, row of palm trees in front of them. The ferry terminal had just been built, but there was a yacht club, and I'm like, oh my God, to be just by the airport, just off the freeway, and in this beautiful setting. And turned out there was a deal in place to develop all of that, and they would only give a month-to-month lease and wouldn't sign a conditional use permit, and it's gone. All of those buildings are gone. They're building 1 million acres of biotech. So that was my first space. And then I was looking at places in San Francisco, even though that's not what I really wanted. I looked in Burlingame, Millbrae. But then the city of South San Francisco called me, their Bureau of Economic Development. They asked, are you still looking for a space? I said, nope, we're not doing that anymore. And they said, well, you should really come look at the space. And I walked in and I said, yeah, let's talk.
Yeah, and this area is really nice, too. This 4 or 5 block South San Francisco city here has everything. And there's a parking garage just a block and a half away that makes it convenient for your students. And, there's bakeries, there's restaurants, there's businesses, there's all kinds of things here.
Yeah, we're only 5 blocks off of Highway 101. The parking garage, as you said, I've seen it full once in 8 years, and it's cheap. By Bay Area standards, really cheap, and it's free on Sundays. All street parking and the parking garage free on Sundays and evenings, and there's street parking in the neighborhood. And we're in between BART and Caltrain, and the Caltrain station they just finished redoing, really nice. Again, that's 5 blocks away.
The space you have here on the 3rd floor, too, is so versatile. I mean, I've done a number of different experiences here over the years, and you can open the walls a little bit and expand it as you need to.
Yeah, I mean, when we came in, this space was raw, but what we saw was 18-foot ceilings and 8 12-foot high arched windows looking directly across the street at City Hall, and over City Hall's shoulder, historic Sign Hill, where it says South San Francisco Industrial City in giant concrete letters up on the hill. That's a landmark that people only see going from the airport to the city, and people don't pull off and see the town. But it's a cute little town, and our view is gorgeous and so much light.
Yeah, these windows are fantastic, and you often have them open during class.
Yeah, it's nice. We're doing spacing still. We're not cramming students in. We usually open windows, and we usually turn on the AC, whether it's needed or not, because we got new MERV filters in the unit, and it's, just keeping air circulation going. But it's nice. It's a northern exposure, so never direct sunlight. So lots of light, but never direct, so it doesn't heat up really badly when you get a crowd.
Since I signed up for that first event years ago, I've been receiving your emails, but, when I look at your website, there seems to be so much more going on. You offer programs which covers subjects such as food pairing and business of wine, regions of study, California, France, Italy, and among others. Workshops on those same subjects, but also wine types, sparkling, white, and red. And you just started not too long ago, the responsible beverage service. So you have a lot going on here.
Yeah, it's crazy. We now have 25 different programs, so bundles of classes, most of those culminating in a credential. A few of them don't. But part of that's fun. You mentioned our grape series, our style series. You know, at the start of the pandemic, we were 70% trade, and now we're 50% trade, 50% consumer. So we've built a lot more consumer series and workshops. It's over 100 workshops now. And that responsible beverage service, that's a crazy one. We just launched that last month. But this is mandated by the state of California that every alcohol server must have it by the end of this month. That is 1 million people who don't know they are legally required to have this certificate. It's a busy time.
As I mentioned earlier, I took David's RBS training. It was about 4 hours, but I had my certificate that afternoon. You can see the many courses they offer at sanfranciscowineschool.com. We just started touching upon the many events, seminars, and workshops the school offers, and one tasting event coming up, quite coincidentally, features a local Sonoma County wine writer and weekly radio show host on the radio station I work with, KSRO, Dan Berger. That's on August 13th. Dan will be sharing older vintage Cabernets from his cellar, going way back.
Yeah, this is fun. Dan and I have been talking for over a year now, and every time I talk to him on the phone, it's 3 times as long as I think it's going to be, and I write like 8 pages of notes on our conversation and all these wines, all these stories. It's an unlimited treasure trove, and I came up with the idea of calling a series of classes Rating Dan Berger's Cellar. But really, what's selling on the internet, I've got to have good SEO. So, California Cabernet Sauvignon from the 70s, that's something that someone's going to find online. And then I say Rating Dan Berger's Cellar. Yeah. But it's exciting because Dan has been a wine columnist since 1976, and we're tasting California Cabernet from 74 to 79. These are wines that he bought then and has had in his personal underground cellar, colder than most cellars and really stable. Wow. These are wines that are going to be in pristine condition that he wrote about 40 years ago and has written about since. He knows all the stories. He knows where the bodies are buried. He knows what's changed. It's going to be exciting. I'm just going to be the host. He's running this. I'm super excited for this.
Yeah, he's an incredible journalist and speaks it well and captivate an audience. Another upcoming event is your 11th annual celebration and scholarship auction. That's Saturday, November 12th.
Yeah, this, again, fun one, So Dan Berger's August 19th, and then this one, November 12th, our 11-year anniversary. And before the pandemic, it was easy. Throw a gala, throw a big ball, have an auction. In the pandemic, we went crazy and did an online sommelier competition. And it was so cool and so fun. And some people are tired of Zoom, and some people still don't want to come in person. And so last year we did it as a hybrid event and was really cool. And so now we're recreating last year's model, if you will. There will be an online auction that you do not have to pay for the event to do the auction. So no admission charge, just get in there and start bidding. Then you can indeed do some silent auction stuff that is here at the event only. But then the sommelier competition is hybrid. It's live in person and on Zoom. And then we switch to the dinner and the Zoom crowd goes away. And it's just in person at that point. And it's food and wine playing. and a bit of a smackdown. I can't say who the competitors are yet, but every year different sommeliers competing. And it's all for the Glancy Wine Education Foundation.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What is that? Does that support scholarships?
Absolutely. So it's fun. When we started, we gave small discounts for the trade. When the pandemic started, 90% of our trade customers were unemployed. So we were giving discounts that came purely out of our bottom line. But we started several years ago a scholarship fund that we ran through Scholarship America, and we did it once a year, and we only took applications and awarded funds once a year, and they took a big chunk out of it, their operation costs. Then when the pandemic started, we realized we had to step it up, and we formed a separate 501c3 nonprofit, the Glancy Wine Education Foundation. Now we raise money all year, and we issue scholarships all year. So in the last 2 years, we've issued almost $200,000 in scholarships to folks in the trade or trying to break into the trade.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations. You probably didn't see yourself going in that direction.
No, absolutely. I mean, so many things, the pandemic, if you'd asked me, are you going to be doing this aspect of the business? No way. So many things never would have done. And it's really cool what we've done. I like to say we're working twice as hard for half as much money, but our reach has increased, through the hybrid model of in-person and online, rebottling wine and shipping to 43 states legally, doing it. There's some people doing it illegally, but pandemic's over. We don't have to do this anymore. No, we're reaching 43 states. We are not stopping. But it's exciting to have some people in person because it just feels different.
David handles these online programs very well. And what's cool is you have people on Zoom, like I was for the Australian courses, and the producers and reps from the regions that are being featured are on screen live, in this case, from Australia. Well, mostly.
Yeah, the Wine Australia one was super fun. So we've done, I think, 3 with them. We have another one that should be coming up in October. But those, the last several sessions, we had roughly 20 people in the classroom and roughly 80 people online. I was here, but I was just the Zoom operator, room host, wine pourer. Mark Davidson led it from Des Moines, Iowa, where he lives, because, of course, you would promote Australia from Iowa. Yeah. All right. Somehow, I don't know how that happened. But then his panelists were all from South Australia. And on Zoom, everyone is connected. Because it was so many people, that was a Zoom webinar, so you couldn't see the online attendees' faces, only the panelists. But when we do smaller classes, everybody can turn their cameras and mics on at home. But for 100 people, that's chaos you don't want.
Right. You even have a fascinating mode of operation here with your camera and monitor, because you can walk around the room and it follows you.
Yeah, we spent far more money than planned. We have spent about $60,000 on AV since the pandemic started, and my wish list is another $60,000 probably. But we have an AI camera that tracks the instructor, sound bar, array mic. We can see and hear each other, everyone in the room, everyone in the Zoom. And it's pretty cool, and it allows you to make eye contact with your in-person audience and your online audience by staring at the camera occasionally, just like you'd make eye contact with a student in the room. Right. Yeah.
And Zoomers aren't left out when it comes to tasting, because you have tasting kits they can order ahead of time and taste along.
Yeah, we're tasting the same wines at the same time. And, economies of scale, we could bottle, 100 little bottles once a year and have them airtight. But we're bottling a la minute. We do it typically a week in advance. We bottle and ship. Next class, bottle and ship. We are constantly bottling and shipping. I think we're bottling 4 classes today.
Wow. You have another event coming up on November 19th called Wines of the Ancient World, and that's already sold out, which tells me people are getting more and more savvy and finally stepping beyond Cabernet and Chardonnay and even like Malbec and really diving into the history of wine.
Yeah, that's a fun one. And so there's a lot of different ways we work. That is actually a Guild Somm event, so the Guild of Sommeliers. And I believe that's going to be Chris Tangi, who's going to be leading that. Not positive. There's details coming, but you can still sign up for the waiting list for that. We may well expand the number of seats, and unknown at this point whether it's going to be opened up to online and in person. The last event we did with Guild Somm was just in person. So there's a lot of ways we can work with people like, Wines of Portugal. We've worked with the Sherry Wine Council. Lots of folks we collaborate with where it might be our event, it might be their event, or it might be a joint event.
Well, David, we've had some short exchanges in the past, so I'm glad you offered me this time so we could talk and share what you're doing here. And that's great what the San Francisco Wine School is offering, and the people are fascinated by it.
Thank you so much, Shane. We have been trying for 11 years to be a hub for wine information, agnostic, all relevant credentials under one roof for people in the industry or trying to get in the industry, and some good, fun consumer classes and events. One thing I didn't say that I say frequently is we will go anywhere and do anything that's legal regarding beverage. We also teach beer and sake. Sommeliers and other people might be interested in coffee. Road Warrior, I'm going down and presenting at the Society of Wine Educators in a couple weeks. After that, I'm presenting at the Western Food Show. After that, I'm presenting at SommCon. So we go all over the place. We love all of this.
You're not married, are you?
Yeah, I am not. I am married.
How did I know that?
I am married to my work. Yeah, and it's fantastic. My partner. We own the business together, and different strengths and weaknesses. I'm the wine guy who sings and dances. She's the business brain who figures out how to sell it and how to pay for it.
And you're talking about Kristen.
Yeah, absolutely. Kristen Campbell. And I got to give a shout out to her. She was just elected to the board of directors for Society of Wine Educators. Oh, so she has a financial and operations background. She knows more about wine than she lets on, and she has an amazing palate. And I couldn't ask for a better partner.
David Glancy, certified wine educator and master somm of the San Francisco Wine School. Whether you're a consumer or looking to get into the industry, they may have a class or one-day event for you. They're in South San Francisco and sanfranciscowineschool.com. You can find more interviews and wine trivia at onthewineroad.us or .com. I'm on Facebook /onthewineroad, and I'm on Instagram as JD Wine Road. The podcast theme was written by Miguel de Oliveira, and the program is researched, written, and produced by me. And I appreciate you listening. I'll catch you next time on The Wine Road. I'm Jeff Davis.